Hello, everyone. Good morning. Today is day 13, and we are continuing in our Catholic audio Bible reading series videos here on YouTube, where we read the Bible going from Genesis all the way up to Revelation, one day at a time. We're in the Genesis creation narratives. We are on chapters 29 and 30 today. And so I'm so glad that you're here joining us today and participating in this series. You can just follow along, and if you're driving or just going about your day, it's a good 15 minutes or so of Bible time. And it's so important to get Bible time in every day. And I am a big proponent of reading the Bible. I have bought Bibles for, I have my own Bible, but I also bought my son a Bible, who's now an adult. He's 22. And I've also bought my family all Bibles. My sisters, I have 3 other sisters. I bought them all Bibles. I'm a big proponent of reading the Bible, and so I'm so glad that you're here joining us today in getting your Bible time in. So with that, let's go ahead and start with chapter 29 in the Genesis creation narratives. Chapter 29, Jacob meets Rachel. Then Jacob went on his journey and came to the land of the people of the east. As he looked, he saw a well in the field and 3 flocks of sheep lying there beside it. For out of that well the flocks were watered. The stone on the well's mouth was large, and when all the flocks were gathered there, the shepherds would roll the stone from the mouth of the well and water the sheep, and put the stone back in its place on the mouth of the well. Jacob said to them, "My brothers, where do you come from?" They said, "We are from Haran." He said to them, "Do you know Laban, son of Nahor?" They said, "We do." He said to them, "Is it well with him?" "Yes," they replied, "and here is his daughter Rachel, coming with the sheep." He said, "Look, it is still broad daylight. It is not time for the animals to be gathered together. Water the sheep and go pasture them." But they said, "We cannot until all the flocks are gathered together and the stone is rolled from the mouth of the well. Then we will water the sheep." While he was still speaking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she kept them. Now when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of his mother's brother Laban, and the sheep of his mother's brother Laban, Jacob went up and rolled the stone from the well's mouth and watered the flock of his mother's brother Laban. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and wept aloud. And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's kinsman and that he was Rebekah's son, and she ran and told her father. When Laban heard the news about his sister's son Jacob, he ran to meet him. He embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house. Jacob told Laban all these things, and Laban said to him, "Surely you are my bone and my flesh." And he stayed with him for a month. Jacob marries Laban's daughters. Then Laban said to Jacob, "Because you are my kinsman, should you therefore serve me for nothing? Tell me, what shall your wages be?" Now Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah's eyes were lovely, and Rachel was graceful and beautiful. Jacob loved Rachel, so he said, "I will serve you 7 years for your younger daughter Rachel." Laban said, "It is better that I give her to you than that I would, It is better that I would give her to you, than that I should give her to any other man. Stay with me." Sorry about that. So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed to him but a few days because of the love he had for her. Then Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife, that I may go into her, for my time is completed." So Laban gathered together all the people of the place and made a feast. But in the evening he took his daughter Leah and brought her to Jacob, and he went into her. Laban gave his maid Zilpah to his daughter Leah to be her maid. When morning came, it was Leah, and Jacob said to Laban, "What is this you have done to me? Did I not serve with you for Rachel? Why then have you deceived me?" Laban said, "This is not done in our country, giving the younger before the firstborn. Complete the week of this one, and we will give you the other one also in return for serving me for another 7 years." Jacob did so and completed her week. Then Laban gave him his daughter Rachel as a wife. Laban gave his maid Bilhah to his daughter Rachel to be her maid. So Jacob went in to Rachel also, and he loved Rachel more than Leah. He served Laban for another 7 years. When the Lord saw that Leah was unloved, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. Leah conceived and bore a son, and she named him Reuben. For she said, because the Lord has looked on my affliction, surely now my husband will love me. She conceived again and bore a son, and said, because the Lord has heard that I am hated, he has given me this son also. And she named him Simeon. Again she conceived and bore a son, and said, now this time my husband will be joined to me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore he was named Levi. She conceived again and bore a son, and said, this time I will praise the Lord. Therefore she named him Judah. Then she ceased bearing. When Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, she envied her sister, and she said to Jacob, give me children, or I shall die. Jacob became very angry with Rachel and said, am I in the place of God, who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb? Then she said, here is my maid Bilhah. Go into her, that she may bear upon my knees, and that I too may have children through her. So she gave him her maid Bilhah as a wife, and Jacob went into her, and Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. Then Rachel said, God has judged me, and has also heard my voice and given me a son. Therefore she named him Dan. Rachel's maid Bilhah conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. Then Rachel said, with mighty wrestlings I have wrestled with my sister and have prevailed. So she named him Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had ceased bearing children, she took her maid Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Then Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a son, and Leah said, good fortune. So she named him Gad. Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a second son, and Leah said, happy am I, for the women will call me happy. So she named him Asher. In the days of wheat harvest, Reuben went and found mandrakes in the field, and brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, please give me some of your son's mandrakes. But she said to her, is it a small matter that you have taken away my husband? Would you take away my son's mandrakes also? Rachel said, then he may lie with you tonight for your son's mandrakes. When Jacob came from the field in the evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, you must come in to me, for I have hired you with my son's mandrakes. So he lay with her that night. And God heeded Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a 5th son. Leah said, God has given me my hire, because I gave my maid to my husband. So she named him Issachar. And Leah conceived again, and she bore Jacob a 6th son. Then Leah said, God has endowed me with a good dowry. Now my husband will honor me, because I have borne him 6 sons. So she named him Zebulun. And afterward she bore a daughter and named her Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel, and God heeded her and opened her womb. She conceived and bore a son, and said, God has taken away my reproach. And she named him Joseph, saying, may the Lord add to me another son. Jacob prospers at Laban's expense. When Rachel had borne Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, send me away, that I may go to my own home and country. Give me my wives and my children for whom I have served you, and let me go, for you know very well the service I have given you. But Laban said to him, if you will allow me to say so, I have learned by divination that the Lord has blessed me because of you. Name your wages, and I will give them. Jacob said to him, you yourself know how I have served you, and how your cattle have fared with me. For you had little before I came, and it has increased abundantly, and the Lord has blessed you wherever I turned. But now when shall I provide for my own household also? He said, what shall I give you? Jacob said, you shall not give me anything. If you will do this for me, I will again feed your flock and keep it. Let me pass through all your flock today, removing from it every speckled and spotted sheep, and every black lamb, and the spotted and the speckled among the goats, and such shall be my wages. So my honesty will answer for me later, when you come to look into my wages with you. Every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats and black among the lambs, if found with me, shall be counted stolen. Laban said, Good, let it be as you have said. But that day Laban removed the male goats that were striped and spotted, and all the female goats that were speckled and spotted, every one that had white on it, and every lamb that was black, and put them in charge of his sons. And he set a distance of 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob, while Jacob was pasturing the rest of Laban's flock. Then Jacob took fresh rods of poplar and almond and plane, and peeled white streaks in them, exposing the white of the rods. He set the rods that he had peeled in front of the flocks in the troughs, that is, the watering places, where flocks came to drink. And since they bred when they came to drink, the flocks bred in front of the rods, and so the flocks produced young that were striped, speckled, and spotted. Jacob separated the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks toward the striped and the completely black animals in the flock of Laban, and he put his own droves apart, and did not pull them from Laban's flock. Whenever the stronger of the flock were breeding, Jacob laid the rods in the troughs before the eyes of the flock, that they might breed among the rods. Before the feebler of the flock he did not lay them there. So the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. Thus the man grew exceedingly rich, and had large flocks, and male and female slaves, and camels and donkeys. That's the end of the chapter. There we had 29 and 30. Chapter 29, where Jacob meets Rachel, and he loves her instantly. And he goes to his uncle Laban, and he says, I will marry your daughter Rachel for the price of tending your sheep. And obviously the Lord was blessing Jacob, and so Laban was blessed through that. And so Laban had said, yes, I will give you my daughter Rachel. But then at the wedding, he turned and put Leah in the tent with Jacob. And the next day, Jacob says, wait, this is Leah. So I'm not quite sure why he didn't know it the night before. They do drink a lot of wine at these weddings. I don't know exactly, but Jacob did not know. He slept with Leah and made her his wife, and went back to Laban and said, what have you done to me? I was working for you so that I would marry Rachel those 7 years. And so Laban says to Jacob, it's not our custom here. We don't give the younger until the firstborn has been married off. So stay with Leah for her week. So it was a week of celebration for his wedding feast. And then after that, we'll give you Rachel, and you'll serve me for another 7 years. And so they do that. They finish out the week, and then Rachel is given to Jacob to be his wife. And Jacob serves Laban for another 7 years. So a total of 14 years. But Jacob did not love Leah. And so Leah was seen by God. God saw Leah's affliction. Her husband didn't love her, and she was in this marriage. We think about these, when I read the story, I tend to think of it like, why, it's sad. It's sad, really, for Leah. But, this was the time where, marriages were arranged by families, and I think to find love in a marriage was a blessing. And so Leah was married to Jacob. She was not loved, but God opened up her womb, and she conceived a total of 6 sons and 1 daughter. And the most important of which in the history is Judah. And then Rachel, seeing that she was not able to have a child because God closed her womb, she was barren at the time, she gave her maid to Jacob as a wife. And she bore sons. And then Leah, seeing this, gave her maid to Jacob as a wife so that she could also bear children. And so that maid, who became Jacob's wife, also bore sons. And so Jacob had a total of 4 wives. And then God saw Rachel again, and then opened her womb, and she bore Joseph. Joseph being very, very important. Not only did Jacob love Joseph best, because that was Rachel and his son, but Joseph became, as we'll see in the later chapters, very important and very important figure in the history of the Israelites. And so Jacob continued to prosper under Laban. And then they split up the lambs and the goats, and between the spotted and the speckled and then the black ones. And then, Jacob continued to prosper because the stronger ones ended up going to Jacob after this agreement that he made with Laban about which he would keep and which Laban would have. Laban thought he was going to be super blessed through this, and then he thought he'd deceive Jacob in splitting them up, the flocks. But, he ended up getting the weaker one. So Laban thought that he was going to be deceiving Jacob by splitting up the lambs and the goats and putting those with his other sons, with Laban's sons. And Jacob ended up being more blessed by the Lord in having stronger lambs and goats. And so we leave off with that chapter 30 where the flocks are separated. Jacob separated them into Laban's flock and his own flock. And so he wanted to be able to leave at some point and to have his own life with his newly large family and his flocks. So we leave off there with chapter 31 tomorrow. And I hope that you enjoyed this reading of today's Bible, chapters 29 and 30. And will continue with us again tomorrow. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Until tomorrow.